Hi, everybody. I'm Nina Taylor, and here is your gospel news. Well, this week I want to talk all about black films. As you know, right now the movie Birth of a Nation is playing in theaters. It's the story of Nat Turner, an enslaved black Baptist preacher who lived and worked on a Virginia plantation owned by Samuel Turner. Well, one day Samuel Turner got the notion that the slaves were thinking about an uprising, so he urged Nat Turner to speak to them about squashing any ideas of an uprising. But instead of doing that, after Nat had witnessed for years the horrific treatment of the slaves on that plantation, on August 21st, 1831, Nat Turner's quest for justice and freedom led to a violent and historic rebellion of this Southampton, Virginia plantation. Here's a list of the top 10 movies made by the real lives of African Americans. Number 10 was Rosewood from 1997, a dramatization of a real-life 1923 massacre of an entire Florida community burned to the ground and over a dozen African Americans killed. Number 9, Red Tails from 2011. Red Tails illustrates the struggles and adventures of the Tuskegee Airmen. Number 8, Panther from 1995. This one chronicles the beginning of the Black Panther Party for self-defense. Number 7, Ghost of Mississippi. It tells the story of what led up to the 1994 trial and conviction of Brian De La Beckwith, who was convicted of the murder of civil rights activist Medgar Evers nearly 30 years before the trial. Malcolm X from 1992, directed by Spike Lee. Well, Malcolm X was the story of the controversial leader of the black Muslims during the 1960s. Number 5, the Jackie Robinson story, 42. Now, this one was actually made twice, in 1950 and again in 2013. This was the story of the first black Major League Baseball player to ever play in America. Number 4, Glory from 1989. This Civil War drama about the 54th Massachusetts Volunteer Infantry, starring Denzel Washington, that also earned him his very first Oscar. Number 3, Amistad from 1997. The film follows a major Supreme Court case to determine the rights of a rebellious group of slaves who in 1841 they led a mutiny aboard their slave ship which was headed to Cuba. They ended up on American soil. The slaves were arrested and the courts attempted to determine who should be the true owner of the boat and the slaves. Now, slavery was still going on here in America but had been outlawed internationally. Number 2, Bingo Long and the Traveling All-Stars and Motor Kings from 1976. This movie chronicled the Negro baseball leagues of the 1930s. Now, they chose to not focus on so much of the racism that was happening in the 30s, but on the financial difficulties they had and how they had to basically put on comedy shows during their baseball games to get people to come out and support. Number 1, Lee Daniels' The Butler from 2013. The Butler's real name was actually Eugene Allen, but he was named Cecil Gaines in the movie. This is an African American butler who served multiple presidents through several generations in the White House, starring Forrest Whitaker and Oprah Winfrey. Well, that is your list of top 10 real-life movies made from the real lives of African Americans and your gospel news. I'm Nina Taylor. Let's get back to more great gospel music on Gospel in the Streets.